Hi and welcome to Element Z3. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and we are growing. It's immense joy to see the love that is being showered. Today we are going to be focusing on air resistance. As we have seen force part 1, part 2, now this is the part 3. So let's go ahead. Our aim is going to be to investigate the effects of air resistance. I can explain how air resistance affects moving objects. I can plan and conduct an investigation into the effects of air resistance. This is our success criteria. Let's see the explanation, and at the end, we will gauge if I have met the criteria. First is gravity and falling. You've learned that gravity pulls objects towards the center of the earth, as we saw in a part 2, right? Mr. Isaac Newton, the great Isaac Newton, on whom the apple fell, and the gravity was in his idea. But do you think all objects are pulled as fast as each other? Okay, so that's the reason they have given us idea that there is gravity, no doubt, but there are stages of gravity which will also differ or have their job. Okay, so these two balls are the same size, but one has a much greater mass. Do you think they will hit the ground at the same time when dropped from a height? Perfect. I'm sure you're thinking, or you must have given the thought as well. Let's go ahead. Galileo Galilei, from 1564 to 1642, was an Italian scientist and mathematician who wondered about this. In 1590, he decided to carry out an investigation to find the answer. He climbed to the top of Leaning Tower of Pisa with two balls that were different in size and mass, but had a similar density. He dropped both of the balls from the top of the tower at the same time. Both balls hit the ground at the same time. Let's see what happens. Galileo's experiment proved that all objects fall at the same rate, no matter what their mass is. But this can seem hard to believe. Think about a feather and a hammer. If you dropped both objects at the same time, would they hit the ground at the same time? But of course not, right? Agreed. What do you think happened when astronauts stood on the moon and dropped these two items at the same time? Isn't it? It's so strange. All right, let's go ahead. The feather and the hammer hit the surface of the moon at the same time. This proves that Galileo's findings are correct. Can you think why the two objects might fall at the same speed on the moon, but the feather falls so much more slowly on Earth? What is different about the moon and the Earth that could cause this to happen? We are inquirers, right? I hope we are researching, we are inquiring. Air resistance. There is no air on the moon. Air pushes against any object moving through it. This is known as air resistance. On Earth, air resistance acts on both objects. The feather has a large surface area in comparison to its mass. The hammer has a small surface area in comparison to its mass. Air resistance, therefore, has a greater upwards force on the feather. Since there is no air on the moon, there is no air resistance to push against the feather. So, the two objects fall at the same speed. I hope your inquiry met the target and this was the answer. Fantastic. Let's go ahead. Thank you. You are doing a great job. Air resistance can be a useful force, but it can also be unhelpful. in certain situations. Like every coin has two sides. So look at the two diagrams below. Which one shows a useful effect of air resistance and which one shows an unhelpful effect of air resistance? I hope you have devised, your thinking hats are on. Let's continue further our inquiry. If you're thinking, you may definitely take a pause and discuss your answer. Therefore, if you see, my air resistance is where and my driving force. For air balloon, we were already aware air resistance is how and gravity is the falling part, right? So air resistance pushes up on the parachute, opposing the force of gravity and making the parachute and the person fall more slowly. This is a useful effect. But air resistance pushes the cyclist back, opposing the cyclist's force from them pedaling and bicycle and making a bicycle travel more slowly. This is an unhelpful effect. The perfect parachute. The Super Skydiving Company are redesigning the parachute they use to allow people to perform skydives from aeroplanes. They want to make sure that the parachute they use allows their customers to fall from the aeroplane as slowly and safely as possible. You're going to investigate a helpful effect of air resistance by finding the best design for their new parachute. The perfect parachute will be the one that makes a person fall the slowest. It will cause air resistance to push it up with the biggest force. Are you ready? So you will make 3 parachutes and drop them from a height. Each of the 3 parachutes should be slightly different. Okay? You will observe which of your parachute falls most slowly. This parachute will have the most air resistance pushing it up. Construct your parachutes using a sheet of plastic or card. Tie or tape string to the corners and tie or tape the 4 pieces of the string to an object such as a toy figure, paper clip, or piece of modeling clay. I'm sure you're inquiring out of the box as well. We are the creative thinker, like element Z3 says. Creativity is fun. So let's see the perfect parachute. Variables are the things that can change in an investigation. Which variables could we change in this investigation? How many variables did you think of? Did you come up with any of this? I'm sure your creativity is flowing. Object attached to the parachute. Shape of the parachute. Size of parachute. Length of string to attach the object. Isn't it? Height of drop. Yes, so many things. Now, for your perfect parachute, we are going to have some activity sheets. I'm going to attach them along. Accordingly, you can definitely perform one. All right. And then you will check out which one was the best. All right. So once you have identified different variables, investigation, you need to make your prediction. Conduct your investigation, complete it accordingly. Now, after I hope you have planned it well and done, now you will explain your findings. I will attach the sheet for the same, okay, and talk about it. Can you talk a full minute about air resistance? Be ready to discuss. Take it in turns to see if you can speak for 60 seconds, sharing as much information as possible with your partner in that time. You could mention, the pointers to help you to discuss. Some word bank for you. Think about the investigation you completed today. Look at your results. Do discuss with your partner, parents, or guardians your predictions. Make sure these are all the guidance that I'm drop for you. And finally, do check have you met your success criteria. See you another time. Thank you for staying tuned. Till then, we will keep showering, keep loving.